before we start the video, I'd like to ask you guys to please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video, as it helps the channel grow. So, let's get into it. Alright, welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking a little bit of time to spend a little time with me, your boy KT. Today, we are finishing up our AFC standings predictions, finishing up with the division of the AFC South, one of the most clear-cut and dry divisions in all of football, in my opinion. We're finishing up with this AFC, man. I want to try to get to the NFC before training camp starts. Football season is right around the corner. We only got a couple more weeks before they start going into training camp, and they go into preseason, so I want to try to wrap this up as fast as I can. It's been a minute since I've made a video about this, as it's been blazing hot here, and I just haven't had the energy to do so, and plus it's been busy. But now we're going to finish up the AFC South. At the end of the video, I'll take a look overall at the conference on how I had everybody shaping up and who I have making the playoffs this year and who I have and who's not. So without further ado, everybody, let's get straight into it. As usual, we're going to go from worst to first. So we're going to start with our worst team in the AFC South. And for our worst team in the AFC South, the team I think that's going to finish fourth in the division, it has to be one of the most obvious picks to me. I have the Tennessee Titans finishing last in the AFC South. Just to be self-explanatory, the Titans went through a lot of things last year. Very few good things happened for the Tennessee Titans last year, especially with their quarterback position. Now we're expecting that to change with the addition of Cameron Ward. With the number 1 overall pick, he is projected to be the starting quarterback, which he probably will be. The Tennessee Titans had an interesting offseason, letting go of, Harold Landry, trading him away, drafting Cameron Ward at number 1 overall. They had some nice draft picks in the draft itself, outside of Cameron Ward as well. I currently have the Tennessee Titans going 4-13, 2-4 against the division, 2-10 against the conference, 3-6 at home, 1-7 away, 0-8 against winning teams, and 4-5 against losing teams, 1-4 against playoff teams. This has to be one of the most easiest predictions I could say that I've made on this video series. The Tennessee Titans, while they made some moves in the offseason, they have a rookie quarterback that's probably going to be starting for them. And while, a rookie quarterback, we've seen it with C.J. Stroud, we've seen it with Jaden Daniels, can take a team from worst to first. Like those guys have that talent to take teams worst to first. I think Cameron Ward has the talent. I just think he's a little raw right now, and I think he's coming into the league a little raw. He might have to, struggle a little bit before he finds consistent success. That and the fact that their receiving core is pretty old. Calvin Ridley being, 30 years old, 31 years old, with Tyler Lockett going up into his 30s as well. They don't really have that third wide receiver. They were hoping Treylon Burks could turn into that. He did not. He stays injured all the time. I did like the draft picks of Chimere Dike and Alec Iomanor from in the draft. So those are two receivers that could make an impact in the future. They still got Van Jefferson on that team as well. But, this is a team that's rebuilding. Brian Callahan still is trying to figure out what he wants to do with this team. They let go of Harold Landry in the offseason as well, so that kind of weakens their pass rush. While I love Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons, is that enough to, get a consistent rush on the passer? Add that to the fact that Jeffrey Simmons is getting old, and he has been on the trade block a couple times, I'm not going to lie. Still pretty good secondary for the Tennessee Titans. L'Jarius Sneed still going strong there. Armani Hooker, Xavier Woods, they got Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and Roger McCreary. So I think their secondary will be fine. It's just youth with this team, youth at quarterback with this team, and a little bit older receivers that may not be producing as much as they once were. I think their offensive line is in a good place as well, with Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle, even though people think they overpaid for him. Still got Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry still playing center. They went out and got Kevin Zeitler, and J.C. Lathan has turned into a really good right tackle in the league. I still have them finishing 4-13. Though I just think that with a young rookie quarterback, very few guys come into this league and just immediately dominate. We've seen it with Jaden Daniels and C.J. Stroud, but those guys are the exceptions to the rules, especially a quarterback at number 1 with this type of raw talent that Cameron Ward has. I think he's going to struggle a little bit early. Once he fully develops, I think he will turn into a nice quarterback. But as of this moment, the Tennessee Titans are still kind of rebuilding. They don't have too tough of a schedule, but when you're a bad team like they were last year, every game is pretty much going to be hard for you. So I got them going 4-13. I don't think there's many swing games on their schedule. So I think 4-13 is a pretty good, way for them to step in next year. I know that I have them losing a lot of games, but this is a team that was pretty bad, man. So I got them going 4-13. I think I have them finishing last in the AFC South. All right, at number 3, I have the Indianapolis Colts coming in third in the AFC South. I have them finishing 5-12. 2-4 against the division, 3-9 against the conference, 3-6 at home, 2-6 away, 2-7 against winning teams, 3-5 against losing teams, and 0-5 against playoff teams. For the Indianapolis Colts, they have been trying for a couple of years now to have a consistency at the quarterback position. Hopefully they can find that this year. Their draft picks suggest that they're trying to add talent to the team as well. 2 draft picks I really liked for them was Tyler Warren at the tight end position, which they really, really needed. I think he fits them very well. JT Tuimoloau, edge out of Ohio State, should definitely add some juice in that pass rush. This is the same team that drafted what's his name from UCLA? I forget his name. Leatu Latu last year. So adding him with Leatu Latu and JT Tuimoloau, I think he adds a bit of a pass rushing element to that team. So I think they should be better on the defensive line. They still got DeForest Buckner on that defense as well. I think the main thing with this Colts team is just consistency at quarterback. They haven't got the results that they wanted from Anthony Richardson this far in his career. He was always kind of a project player, a kind of a big risk type of guy coming out of the draft a couple years ago. Really has the talent to turn into a franchise quarterback, kind of a boom or bust pick though. And when he's not on, he showed that last year he can be very terrible at times. So they went out and got Daniel Jones in free agency. Not much better per se, but he does add a little bit consistency in that quarterback position. You know what you're going to be getting from Daniel Jones. And with Shane Steichen there calling the plays, he might actually prefer Jones to Richardson, mainly because Richardson is never available because he's hurt. But I think he is a little bit familiar with Daniel Jones as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they would like a stable hand at quarterback. Maybe let Anthony Richardson sit a little bit and kind of develop and learn some things behind Daniel Jones before eventually taking over the starting job again. Otherwise, the Indianapolis Colts have a really, really good supporting cast. Jonathan Taylor at their running back position, along with Khalil Herbert as the second stringer. The wide receiving core is just full of guys that are really, really good. I mean, you just go up and down the list. Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Adai Mitchell, Ashton Dulin. These guys are all very, very talented receivers. Josh Downs predicts to be a very, very good breakout receiver next year or this season. Tyler Warren, just drafted out of Penn State, it projects to be one of the better tight ends in the league. He was the second tight end taken after Colston Loveland. I think he does fit the Indianapolis Colts better, more than any other team. They could have another Dallas Clark situation. Their offensive line has seen some turnover as well. The longtime guard Quentin Nelson is still there, but I don't really recognize any of the other names. They lost Ryan Kelly in the offseason as well. So, this team is also rebuilding. I think their secondary is, it's okay. And, they went out and got Travarius Ward, but, this was a secondary that really struggled last year as well. I think this team is kind of going to reflect the unstableness of the quarterback position. We don't know who's going to be starting for this team. And if you're putting faith in Daniel Jones to come win you games in this season, you might be your faith might be misplaced going into the season. Now, the Indianapolis Colts I think they have a pretty decent schedule this year. They 25th, so it's not too hard. But again, when you're a bad team like that, you're going to struggle with some of the better teams on your roster. They do have a couple swing games. I think week 5 against the Raiders could be a swing game for them. I think that, that Falcons game in week 10 could be a swing game for them. I think that Jags game in week 17 could be a swing game for them. So this could easily change. The Colts are one of those teams that if they're getting good quarterback play and are relying on the talent of Jonathan Taylor, now that you add Khalil Herbert in the backfield to kind of spell him at times, this team can either be very boom or bust. They could either win a lot of games or they are going to lose a lot of games because of their quarterback position. But Overall, I have them going 5-12 on the year. They're not going to be a very good team. I think they're talented, but I still think they need Anthony Richardson to develop a little bit more, and they need some consistency at the quarterback position, and I think their secondary could use a little bit of work too. But 5-12, I think that's my overall prediction. I think that's pretty accurate with how this team played last year, but we'll see. So I have them going 5-12, finishing third in the AFC South. Moving on to number 2, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars coming in at number 2 in the AFC South. I have them finishing 9-8 on the season. Put an asterisk there because I'm going to get into that in a minute. 4-2 against the division, 6-6 against the conference, 5-4 at home, 4-4 away, 3-5 against winning teams, 6-3 against losing teams, and 3-4 against playoff teams. The Jacksonville Jaguars are an interesting case to me. This team this is like the boom or bust team in the entire division. This team can be much better than it actually is, but it's being held back in some spots by some spotty quarterback play and some kind of interesting coaching decisions last year. I think this Jaguars team could be a little bit better than I'm giving them credit for, as they have some winnable games on their schedule, but it's all dependent on Trevor Lawrence. Now, they did go out and help Trevor Lawrence a little bit in the offseason. Of course, the biggest pick that they made in the draft was the drafting of the two-way player superstar Travis Hunter, pick number 2, trading up with the Browns to take him, which is probably one of the best picks in the entire draft. I think Travis Hunter is the most talented player in the draft, in my opinion. He was the one that guys really wanted. But they also made another really interesting pick. Look out for Baishul Tutin out of Virginia Tech. I thought this guy was really, really good at Virginia Tech, and I think he wasn't getting enough hype as being a really, really good running back coming out into this draft. They're adding to a running back room that already has Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby. So, it's clear they want Travis to take a step forward, Etienne to take a step forward. So they're adding competition there. The main thing with this Jaguars team is how's Trevor Lawrence going to play this year. That's really the only thing that's holding this team back. I think they have a pretty good defense, led by a very good defensive line. Josh Hines-Allen, still a very good pass rusher. I've always liked him. Javon Walker came into his own. They still got Eric Armstead, who's a solid player coming up the middle. Devon Hamilton is also another solid player coming up the middle. I think they just drafted him, if I'm not mistaken. No, they didn't. I think he was on that team. So, they're adding to a receiving room with Brian Thomas Jr., probably the best rookie receiver last year, in my opinion. Travis Hunter, another dynamic young two-way player who can play receiver, who's probably going to be playing more receiver this year. Dynamic Brown is another guy that's really talented. They did lose Evan Ingram, but he wasn't really giving them much anyway, so that's not much of a downgrade. They also have Brenton Strange, so he could step in for that spot. While their linebacking core and their secondary has some questions there, I do like Jerrion Jones. I like Tyson Campbell. They went out and got Darnell Savage, I think a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. Jordan Lewis will be the nickelback. So I think this defense has enough to keep them in games. It's all dependent on, Trevor Lawrence, man. They need Trevor Lawrence to be that generational prospect that he was hyped up to be coming out of the draft a couple years ago. So far, he's had up and down moments. His rookie season was really, really good. His second season in the league, I think. But these past few years, man, he's just not played up to standard. Lots of turnovers, lots of ineffective play. And that's mainly why I have them going 9-8 is if Trevor Lawrence is going to come out the same way that he did last year and play very inconsistent and play, give the ball away with turnovers and just generally not play well overall, then I definitely have this team finishing 9-8 behind the Houston Texans. But if Trevor Lawrence is able to take that next step with all the weapons that they've added to that offense, especially in the receiving core, I think that this team could finish a lot better than 9-8 on the season. And to be honest, I do think if Trevor Lawrence plays well and he lives up to that generational moniker, they could challenge the Houston Texans for the division this year. But it's all dependent on how Trevor Lawrence plays, if they can get anything out of Travis Etienne or their run game, or if they're going to trade him. Jacksonville does not have a hard schedule this year. It's ranked 24th, right over the Indianapolis Colts. So, with Trevor Lawrence, if he's going to come in, play well, they can definitely win a lot more than 9 games. They have swing games all over their schedule. The game against Seattle, the game against the Raiders, the game against, the Chargers, the game against the Colts in week 14, the game against the Jets in week 15, the game against the Broncos in week 16. They have a lot of swing games on their schedule. If they can get anything generational out of Trevor Lawrence, this team could be a lot better than what it is. As of now, I'm going to stay on the skeptical side and pick the Jaguars to go 9-8 and just miss out on the playoffs this year. So I have the Jaguars going 9-8, finishing second in the AFC South. And finally, we have the Houston Texans winning the division at 11-6. I have them going 4-2 against the division, 6-6 against the conference, 8-1 at home, 3-5 away, 4-5 against winning teams, 7-1 against losing teams, and 2-4 against playoff teams. This was pretty much everybody's pick going into the year for the AFC South. They've given us no reason to think that they're falling off otherwise, while they did lose some pieces in the offseason as well, trading away, most notably trading away franchise left tackle Laramie Tunsil. They added in the draft. I really like the pick of Jaden Higgins, who is pretty much holding up every second round pick at this point for signing. Ariante Irsay from Minnesota, a tackle out of Minnesota, was another really good pick for them. Jalen Noel from Iowa State was a receiver that was a good pick for them in the 3rd round. So, the Houston Texans, while they did lose some pieces on that offense, this is pretty much the same team. They did add Christian Kirk in the offseason to shore up that receiving core after losing Stephon Diggs in the offseason to the Patriots. But, C.J. Stroud, Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, hopefully Tank Dell is healthy. They still got Dalton Schultz and Brevin Jordan and Cade Stover in a deep tight end room. They signed Cam Robinson to play their left tackle to start there. They still got Titus Howard at right guard. So, they have enough on offense to be able to make noise. Their defense is probably going to be the better part of this team. Will Anderson Jr., Daniil Hunter, I don't know how to say his name, but he is Folo Runso Fatukasi. He played well last year. Mario Edwards Jr. coming off the bench. Darrell Taylor coming off the bench. Henry Tutu at the linebacker position. Aziz Al-Shair, who's a hell of dirty, but is a good linebacker when he's playing. EJ Speed, another linebacker. The breakout corner, Derek Stingley Jr. They signed CJ Gardner-Johnson. Jalen Petre has been good in his career. So, this team has it all, man. And, with CJ Stroud playing away, he's been playing. He didn't have the season that he had in his rookie year last year, but they were still good enough to make the playoffs and actually win a playoff game as well. I think the main thing with this Houston Texans team is health, for one. And, can CJ Stroud take another step up this year? I think he knows he had a down season last year, and with all his receivers being back healthy, with the exception of Tank Dell, there might have to be John Mechie stepping in for him. I still think that this team will get good enough quarterback play and good enough running back play from Joe Mixon. And they also signed Nick Chubb in the offseason as well. I think they're going to get good enough production from their offense to be able to, win some games. And plus, with that pass rush down there with Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter, they can make some things scary for a lot of teams in this division and in the AFC. There's not many swing games that I have on their schedule. I think they're a pretty good team at home. I think they can compete with the best of teams out there. As long as CJ Stroud stays healthy, as long as the guys on the offensive line stay healthy and the receiving core stay healthy, especially that defense, I think this team is good enough to win 11 games this year. I think their defense is going to be much better than their offense, though, with that pass rush and that that secondary as well. Everywhere CJ Gardner-Johnson has gone to, he's produced. Derek Stingley Jr. shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, I think he got mega paid this offseason. So I like this Texans team, man. I think this would be the clear-cut pick for most people. I just don't think the other teams in the division are going to be able to match up with them. And if CJ Stroud continues to take steps forward in his career and continues to break out, I think they'll win the division for years to come. So I got the Houston Texans going 11-6 on the year, winning that division and being the 4 seed in the AFC. And that will wrap up the AFC, guys, and the AFC South. Overall, this has been one of my more popular videos on the channel. I enjoy doing these. I like racking my brain around what teams are going to be good and which teams aren't. The AFC is over with, man. I'm so glad that I was able to get the AFC done right before the start of training camp. In the next few videos, we're going to go over the NFC. We're going to start probably with the NFC East and work our way down. But, you know, with all the divisions being done in the AFC, I wanted to look over the conference overall and see, you know, which teams are going to be finishing in. And as it stands now, I have the Bills finishing in number 1, 14-3, Ravens at number 2, Chiefs at number 3, Texans at number 4, Chargers at number 5, Bengals at 6, and Jets at 7. All those teams will end up probably making the playoffs and or wild card. 2 picks I really starting to regret right now, if I had to change at this very moment, would probably be definitely the Bengals. With some of the moves that they've been making and some of the drama that's been in that division, I don't know if they're as good as I once hyped them up to be. So I might be regretting that pick right there. Also, if I had to pick one, it would have to be the Jets as well. I don't know if Justin Fields is going to lead this team to a playoff win or a playoff appearance. This is just a Jets team that's finished pretty bad last year. So I don't know. Now maybe he can. That's kind of like a wild card team in my opinion. If they get good quarterback play, they might be able to make the wild card spot. But if Justin doesn't play well, they can definitely fall out. If I had to replace any of these teams with a team that I didn't have making the playoffs, I would say either the Broncos or Steelers. I have the Broncos, Steelers, and Jaguars all finishing with the same record, so any of those teams could possibly be up in this little wild card spots. I know they expanded it a couple years ago, so this may not be accurate. But yeah, if I had to swap out any other teams, I'd say probably be the Bengals and Jets. I think anywhere from the Chargers to the Bills are safe. You know, I think they're pretty much the best teams in the AFC. The other teams are kind of like swing teams for me. But yeah, that's how I had the AFC looking. Bills finishing number 1, Ravens 2, Chiefs 3, Texans 4, Chargers 5, Bengals 6, and Jets 7. Clearly, I have the Tennessee Titans finishing last in the AFC. Probably going to get the number 1 pick again. Maybe if some of these AFC teams aren't good. The Giants and the Saints are probably going to give them a run for their money, so we'll see. But that's going to wrap it up, man. I'm so glad I'm done with the AFC. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section of this video. Do you agree with anything that I've said in this video? Again, it's still early. Things can change. We're just going to start training camp in a few weeks. So let me know what you guys think about the standings that I put up in this video. Do you agree or disagree with anything that I said? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the videos. It helps the channel grow. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I drop one of these NFL videos. I think in the next few weeks, next few days, I'm going to be doing the NFC, so be looking out for that. Make sure you guys follow me on social media, as there's bound to be stuff about the NFL all around on my social media, and I would love to interact with you guys on there as well. But as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I'm out. Peace.
Let's see if we can come up with some ideas.